every market has their own language. It has their
Yeah.
own unique aspects to it. And so um, it definitely helps that we can speak that language really fluently.
Welcome to Spill the Ink, a podcast by Reputation Inc., where we feature experts in growth and brand visibility for law firms and architecture, engineering, and construction firms. Now, let's get started with the show.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Spill the Ink. I'm Michelle Calcote King. I'm your host, and I'm the principal and president of Reputation Inc. We're a public relations and content marketing agency for architecture, engineering, and construction firms and other professional services firms. To learn more, go to rep-inc, that's inc.com. So Pfluger Architects is a Texas-based architecture firm that specializes in higher education and pre-K through 12th grade architecture. Today, we're talking to their principal and marketing director, Heather Blazi. She's an architect turned marketer, which I'm really excited about. We've never talked to an architect turned marketer. So Heather started as an architectural intern at Pfluger in 2013 and now leads the firm's marketing department. So thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
Tell us about your career. How did you start in architecture? I noticed you have your master's in architecture. And, you know, kind of how did you then find your way into marketing?
Yeah. So my whole life, I've wanted to be an architect. Started when I was a little kid. My mom and my grandpa were always building things. And so it was just kind of in my blood. I moved to a new state right before my fifth grade year. And I didn't have any friends. It was summer, so I had nothing to do. So I fell in love with HGTV, which I know is not the real world, but that's what inspired me to really kind of like go for architecture. So rest of my
That's
high
funny.
school career, I did architecture, and then went to Kansas State and got my master's in architecture there. Loved it, loved the program. I was dead set on just doing architecture. And then when I started in the industry, it was just kind of like, oh, this is what it was going to be. This isn't the HGTV architecture that we used to see. So I found I was having more fun kind of drawing the dimensions, lining up the pages, organizing things, making sure everything flowed the way that it needed to. It was telling the right story on a drawing sheet, probably the things nobody likes to do. Those were the things I was really enjoying. Uh, and so at the time, they were actually looking for a marketing coordinator, and I had just finished up my project that I was working on. And so I said, "Hey, I'd like to give marketing a try." Um, so 9 years later, I am now the the director of marketing and a principal in the firm, and I'm excited about it.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I'm sure it gives you fantastic insight into what you do, because and not that to be a good marketer for architects, you absolutely have to be an architect, but certainly by having that educational background, it gives you, I'm sure, insight and credibility with your architects that
It makes
you.
it easier.
Yeah, I'm sure, you speak their language, and tell their stories in a way that you don't, there's not a language barrier, so to speak.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah,
And I try to pad my team with people who have skills that I do not have. So
right.
I have writers on my team that are exceptional at writing. I have photographers. I have a social media guru who, I mean, I would be lost without her. And so, I try to build my team up to I can help teach them the architecture side of things that they're learning. But they can teach me the marketing side of things that they learned from their degrees.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good bridge. Well, tell me about your team. How is it structured? What expertise do you keep in house?
Flickr has just grown crazy amount over the last 9 years, and especially over the last 3 years. So about 3 years ago, we were a three-person team with probably 50 employees across the three offices. And now we are a seven-person team, including myself, with 120 employees across five
Wow.
offices. So, because of that, we have the ability to have some specialization within our team. And
Yeah.
so, one of my team members, her whole job is digital media. So she does our website. She does our social media. She does all of the things besides RFQs. I won't let her touch an RFQ because when you sucked into RFQ land, you
Yeah.
never get out.
Right. Yep. Absolutely.
So
Smart.
so I have her, and she's really done an incredible job kind of building our presence. I give her, the parameters and then just let her run with it because that's what she knows. That's her expertise. And so she's been an incredible asset to our team. We've had her for almost 4 years. Um,
Right.
and so we're lucky there. And then I have another team member who focuses specifically on bond support. So we have a communications and community outreach director, and his job is really to help school districts pass their bonds. And so she helps support him with all of that collateral research. I mean, they do an incredible amount of work, and we tried a long time ago supporting those efforts in a marketing department, but bonds they're so unique and they require, constant dedication during that time
Right.
frame bond. And so we found that we needed somebody who was dedicated to doing that, not that part-time. So she's been an incredible asset. She's an artist by degree. And so she's also very analytical. It's very cool to see her brain work because one minute she'll be doing something totally artistic and then the next you're like, oh my gosh, this is a lot of data that I just can't even wrap my head around.
Yeah.
But she navigates that well. Um, and then the rest of my team, they focus heavily on our RFQs. So I have two in our Austin office and two in our Dallas office. And they serve RFQs really company wide.
Yeah.
And it's been incredible just watching their growth and their development. Um, and yeah, it's just I'm very lucky. I'm very lucky to have an awesome team.
Yeah, it sounds like it. So obviously so the department has grown. How has marketing itself changed over the years since you've done this? So I'm guessing just having that digital person, that's I'm guessing a new thing. What other changes have you seen throughout your time?
I mean, it used to be our job was responding to RFQs and helping out with events at
Yeah,
conferences. And so just kind of by nature of our growth as a firm, we found that we're doing a lot more that I'm going to call it that pre-business development work.
yeah,
We're helping get the word out on some of our projects, helping strategize ways that we can get in front of potential clients or get access to potential projects. And so we get to do a lot more strategy now. Uh,
good.
and I think we also, because of our social media expert and her presence and building that, we're helping her share out different stories.
Yeah,
I have somebody in every office. And so that helps. They get to be the boots on the ground, kind of hearing all of these different stories and projects going on and sharing that out. And that's been really, I think, helpful and fun. But yeah, I mean, it is different, but the same.
yeah.
Then, we're expanding markets as well. And so now we're pursuing other markets that we didn't necessarily have expertise in before. And so just growing and learning those different types of pursuits, it's been really fun.
Interesting. And when you say exploring new markets, do you mean geographically or vertical industry markets?
Industry markets mostly.
Okay. Yeah.
Some of them are tangential to education. We try to keep
Yeah.
that our core. So what are those kind of support, like teacher housing projects, some of the early childhood centers, some of
Got
those
it.
Larry
Yeah. That are
projects.
kind of related to that niche.
Yeah.
How does thought leadership play into your strategy? Is that something you've focused on at all? Is that something you're looking to dabble in?
Absolutely. I mean, we're trying to grow and share our knowledge. That's really one of our core values is we want to share it out. We don't want to just keep it to ourselves. So we actually have like seven research and benchmarking teams that are
Oh, wow.
focused on different areas of thought leadership. And so our fine arts team actually just did an article with Schools and University magazine,
Oh, great.
and that one, they were able to share some of that research out that they've done. We have a safety and security team that has traveled across to different districts, shared that presentation. We've given conferences, presentations as well. And the former lead of that group, he was actually serving on the state's safety and security kind of review board through the Texas State University. And so it was really, we've been able to expand that reach, and we're researching in career and tech education, campus life. What does it actually mean to be kind of a campus where you want to live and rest and be not just a commuter campus? Yeah, I mean, a lot of things going on, a lot of different types of expertise that we want to tap into. Sustainability is another one. There we go.
Yeah.
Sustainability, that's a big one. And so being able to take that and not only share that knowledge internally with all 5 offices and make sure that everybody is up to date on that research and that knowledge, but then help our communities, whether it's an owner that we want to work with, or it's just giving somebody ideas or suggestions or recommendations that they use in their future projects. That's our goal at the end of the day.
Yeah, no, I can. There's so much knowledge, especially in the architecture space. Being a more niche focused firm, how does that drive your strategy? I can imagine it makes it a bit more. It makes it a bit more effective. To rather than having to kind of split your strategy across, 10 different verticals, you get to kind of go a bit deeper. Is that true?
Yeah, I think so. It's, as I've learned and just as we've expanded a little bit, um, you know, it's a different world when you start going into those other markets. And so I think it helps having that really deep understanding, because you can make those connections with clients. You can really show them how you've helped solve this, maybe a similar problem somewhere else. And so I think by having that expertise and that singular focus, it certainly helps. It helps me because I can streamline that message. I can pull, 15 different stories in that relate to maybe the challenge that an RFQ is looking to solve. I can pull those different stories in, and I have a pretty hefty bench to pull from. Whereas if I'm going into another market, we get a little bit creative. This may be a similar challenge in a different market. Here's how we can apply that in. So I think that is definitely, every market has their own language. It has their
Yeah.
own unique aspects to it. And so, um, it definitely helps that we can speak that language, really fluently.
I was looking at your brand and I noticed that you talk a lot about creating a meaningful human experience. Can you tell me about developing that brand and a little bit about how you kind of arrived on kind of the language and the positioning?
Absolutely. So 2 or 3 years ago, I think it was about 3 years ago, we embarked on this journey to find our new purpose. We just celebrated 50 years. So
Oh,
we're like, "Okay, what is
congrats.
the next 50 years gonna bring us?" So we really wanted that a purpose to be something that related to our craft, but also drove us to constantly be looking for how we can best serve our clients moving forward. And so, um, to inspire people to create a more meaningful human experience is really about this core of, when you walk into a space, we want you to feel what you're supposed to feel. If it's a school, we want you to feel safe. We want you to feel creative. We want you to feel like, as a teacher, you have all of the resources that you need to educate your students. We want everything that you interact with related to us as an experience. And that goes to our RFQs. Our RFQs are an experience in their own. Working with our project teams, it's a particular experience that you're being crafted and welcomed into. And so we want it to be this series of kind of moments that you feel you get that emotional connection, and you have this kind of deep sense of like, yeah, these people understand what we're trying to do. And I think that's the human aspect. It's
Yeah.
not meaningful experience, it's the people too.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Connection with the people. We don't want you to just connect with the Pfluger brand.
Right.
But we are all representations of so.
Yeah. How do you get your architect buy-in on marketing? Do you find that there is understanding of the role of marketing in the business, or is there resistance? And has it changed over the years?
I think we're pretty lucky. We have a group of people who are very passionate about what they do and they want to share it out. And so we've always had kind of exceptional support with marketing. Um, there are, certain things were slower, like social media was a slow start for us
Yeah.
to get on that boat. But I think it was once presented to them, the results and kind of what was coming from those efforts,
Yeah.
it was very clear. And I think that has helped that has helped push us. But it's also kind of a pushback on us in that we want to make sure that what we're doing brings value to the company and it's
Yeah.
not we're doing this just because we have to do it. Okay, we have to be on social media, right? Because you got to stay relevant anymore now. So you have to be on social. And so how can we use that platform to really serve our purpose? How can we make our website really support who we are, what we believe, what our core values are, uh, and I help identify and share out that message. So I think we're pretty lucky. We haven't faced a ton of resistance on marketing initiatives or marketing efforts. Um, I think it helps. I like to always read people in. I probably over communicate is what my team will say.
Well, that's better. Yeah. I think that's the best way to go.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I try to be very open and upfront. Like,
Yeah.
this is what I need. This is, and then if they say no first, I'm like, okay, what can I do to make that better? How
Yeah.
can I help bridge this gap so that you understand why I'm making the request I'm making?
How about email? What role does email play in your strategy?
We have not done a ton of that. I will say, as somebody who gets a ton of emails, I've always been hesitant about like, oh, we just don't want to be one more email in
Yeah.
somebody's inbox. And so we have done very strategic emails. We try not to do like a every week e-blast
Right.
or, every month, but we have done, like targeted email campaigns. We hired a bond planner and so we did an interview with him and we blasted that out to everybody so that they would see kind of on a broad scale, hey, this is service that we offer now. And here's why it's different than maybe what you get from somebody else. And so we shared that out. And I will say that did return some success. Um we did get some leads and eventually projects from that notion. And so we want to make sure that when we're doing those emails, we are doing them in a more strategic manner and not in a general manner is our for it anyways.
Yeah, I feel like emails that nut that hasn't quite been cracked for a lot of architecture firms and professional services firms in general, for a lot of reasons. I'm hearing that from a lot of people. And on social, are your main channels LinkedIn and Instagram? Are you on any other platforms?
We are on them all.
You're on
Yeah,
them all. Okay. Yep.
so, we're on X. Feels weird calling that
I
X.
know, right? Yep. That's
We're on X, Facebook, LinkedIn, what Instagram. There we go.
yeah. There you go. Uh-huh.
We are on all of the platforms. We're not on any of the TikToks or anything like that because feel relevant to what we do. We could
Yeah.
probably find a niche in there, but it doesn't feel like it's as impactful to our clients and what they're looking for. Um,
Yeah. I watch TikTok just because I feel like some of the trends bleed over into some of the other platforms, but I don't see a need for, especially B2B, to really be on TikTok. I see that some of the ways the videos are done, some of that style kind of bleeds over, but yeah, I don't see it. And it's interesting. I'm watching X, and it feels like we're all just still on it because we were on it for a while, and now we're just sort of,
you
you
just gotta
know, yeah,
be
we're posting our content and seeing, okay, is it still worthwhile being there? Yeah, it's a sort of wait and see and
yeah.
figure it out. Do your architects, or do they engage in LinkedIn much?
We have made a huge push for doing that. And so our digital media coordinator, she will if somebody says, "Hey, post this on our LinkedIn," she would say, "Hey, that's great for you to post on your LinkedIn and I can help you."
Right.
And so we are trying to do that because of all the research out there that shows and all the, you know, facts, I guess, that show that individual posting is far better reach than a
Far
company
better.
post.
Yeah.
So we ask folks to, engage with our stuff, but also if you share it, don't just hit share and maybe write why you're sharing this. Make it meaningful for the person that's gonna be reading that on your feed. Why should they stop and read this versus just skim over it and get to the next one? And so having that personal touch, that personal insight really does make a difference. So we've gotten a handful of folks who are really engaged on it. And our social media coordinator, she keeps she has all these great ideas and she's like, "I'm gonna make an influencer of the month award. And whoever gets the most or whoever gets the
Smart.
most reach that month,
Yeah.
they get a little trophy that they can wear." So it's trying to find ways to make it a game. I think people like that.
Yeah.
They like that
Gamify it.
recognition, gamify it, and really make it impactful for everyone. So uh, hopefully you'll start seeing a whole lot more Fluger presence on
Thanks.
LinkedIn.
Yeah. Well, and I also noticed a lot of your content on social is about your people. And I'm assuming that's strategic and that a lot of your business development strategy is that your clients are choosing to work with the people that, make up your firm. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. I think it is about people. At the end of the day, we do business as people, not as companies. And so if I don't like you, it's going to be a not a great relationship working
Yeah.
together. And so we wanna make sure that we have that personal, like, a face behind the firm. But then we also thought it's a great way, kinda showcasing our people is a really great way to show kind of what individuals do and what their expertise is, but then also for, young college kids coming out looking for jobs, who do they feel like they relate to? Who do they feel like they connect with? And who do they see like, "Oh, I wanna be that person, 10 years from now. That's where I wanna be." And
Yeah.
so we wanna make that it is about the people who make up our firm. We wouldn't be where we are today as it if it wasn't for them. So we wanna highlight their expertise and really show what they bring to the table in support of, all the project work that they are producing. And, they're pretty we have some pretty amazing projects coming out. Uh, and so we wanna showcase both of those for sure.
Yeah, yeah, I can imagine it's achieving that kind of balance of talking about your people and your project, and the ideas behind them. The ideas around sustainability and safety and all of that. Kind of getting that right mix with
Absolutely.
all of that in your storytelling. Well, that's great. This has been a really interesting discussion. So I always like to end these interviews with asking sort of if there's one final thought you'd like to leave our listeners with around, marketing and architecture firm.
You know, I think the best thing that I have learned over the last 9 years in marketing is it's okay to take risks.
Yeah.
Sometimes they don't pan out, sometimes they do. And those risks will teach you something that you can apply to a future, whether it's a risk in an RFQ, a risk on social or on LinkedIn or anywhere, or a risk at a conference. I think it's okay to take those risks. We're all, especially as women, we're all so tight knit and afraid to fail. And, like everything has to be perfect before we execute it. And I think architecture is like that too. As an architect, everything has to be at its best before we show it to the world. And I think having that where having the grace to say like, okay, it may not be perfect right out the bat, but you know what? We're going to improve it and fine tune it, and then
Iterate. Yep.
gonna be exceptional, and where we want it to be at the end. So that would be probably my biggest advice is take
I
those
love
risks.
that. Yeah. Marketing is a risk-taking endeavor. Absolutely. Yeah. It is not for the faint of heart. A lot of people don't understand that. So yeah, to make an impact, you have to try new things. and be willing to do something different. So that's fantastic. Well, thank you for joining me. So we've been talking to Heather Blazi of Pfluger Architects. So if somebody wanted to reach out and talk to you, what's the best way for them to connect with you?
LinkedIn. I'm most active on LinkedIn. And then email, of course, phone call. I'm happy to talk to anybody, really.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Spill the Ink, a podcast by Reputation Inc. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.